Before we dive into the shadows of World War II, I want to remind you to subscribe to this channel and, leave a comment with your thoughts on these historical survival tactics. Every insight you share helps build a community of serious history buffs and survival enthusiasts. And today's guide is going to take you far beyond the familiar tales of espionage and battlefield heroics. We're delving into the often overlooked world of home defences used during the Second World War. Ingenious, sometimes deadly, and honestly, surprisingly relevant for those interested in security and survival today. What I'm about to share is more than history. It's practical knowledge that you can adapt safely in your own survival planning. During World War II, the threat wasn't just overseas. Civilians were acutely aware that intruders, whether enemy agents, looters or, opportunistic criminals, could strike when towns were evacuated or left vulnerable. This led to the development of home traps, clever defensive measures designed to protect property, lives and sensitive resources. While many of these devices were, temporary, improvised and often forgotten in the decades after the war, the principles behind them remain incredibly instructive. The ingenuity of these wartime measures provides a lesson in resourcefulness. And even today, honestly, aspects of these traps can inspire modern security thinking. During the war, ordinary homes became, fortresses. In Britain, the threat of German air raids was compounded by the fear of spies and saboteurs. Families and local militias learned to reinforce doors, create hidden escape routes, and, I must say, rig simple yet effective deterrents to protect against unwanted entry. These measures weren't just about stopping an intruder. They were about, buying time, delaying enemy action, and making sure that a household could survive until help arrived. In occupied territories like France and the Netherlands, civilians sometimes took these precautions even further. Homes were rigged to signal the presence of intruders, trigger noise to alert neighbours, or, in extreme cases, make a path through a house physically hazardous for anyone who attempted unauthorised entry. These weren't the high-tech security systems of today, but they were, extraordinarily clever for their time, relying on everyday materials and human ingenuity. One of the most fascinating aspects of World War II home defences was, honestly, the reliance on common items. Kitchen utensils, wooden planks, ropes and simple nails were transformed into deterrents that could stop or slow an intruder. For instance, nails hammered into floors or stair treads in specific patterns could create, painful and immobilizing obstacles. Hinges and door frames were reinforced with metal scraps, making forced entry difficult and noisy, giving homeowners precious seconds to respond. Another popular technique involved alarm mechanisms. A string tied across a doorway or window could be connected to a makeshift bell, a tin can, or even, a pile of objects that would topple if disturbed. This would immediately alert occupants or neighbours to an intruder's presence. Some households even rigged more sophisticated mechanisms using weights, pulleys, or counterbalances, really illustrating the creativity born of necessity during wartime. Beyond deterrence, Many World War II home traps were designed to protect valuables, documents, and even small caches of weapons. Hidden compartments behind false walls or under floorboards were often equipped with mechanisms to trap or warn intruders. In rural areas, simple pits camouflaged with planks or foliage were sometimes used to stop intruders in their tracks. While today we can't really advocate for dangerous traps that could cause serious injury, the underlying principle of layered security is still, quite valuable. For example, creating concealed storage areas that are difficult to access, or even booby-trapped with non-lethal alerts like noise or lighting, can effectively safeguard property without risking any legal consequences. This is a practical application for anyone interested in combining a bit of historical insight with modern survival techniques. The most enduring lesson of Second World War home traps is honestly the power of strategic thinking over brute force. These measures were successful not because they were lethal, but rather because they were unexpected, clever, and carefully adapted to the environment. Today, survivalists can apply similar logic. Consider for a moment the importance of redundancy. Multiple defensive layers, each designed to delay or detect an intruder. Modern equivalents could include reinforced entry points, motion sensors, or even simple mechanical alerts crafted from ordinary household materials. Another application is the psychological effect. You see, WWII traps often relied on startling or confusing an intruder, forcing hesitation. In modern home security, this principle translates to deterrents that make a potential intruder doubt their success. Lights triggered by movement, sound alarms, or strategically placed signs signaling security measures. These are all non-lethal adaptations of the same mindset that protected families decades ago. For those intrigued by history and survival strategy, there are ways to experiment with WWII-inspired traps without danger. Start small, rig a string to a bell to test alert systems, or practice creating hidden compartments in safe areas. Study the way materials were used, metal scraps for reinforcement, ropes for pulleys, and adapt them in ways that fit modern safety standards. So, documenting your experiments as a historian would, noting effectiveness and potential improvements allows you to combine historical fidelity with practical learning. The key is understanding intent. World War II home traps were not random. They were carefully considered, designed to protect people, and adapted to the environment and materials at hand. This mindset is honestly far more valuable than the traps themselves. Whether you're a historian, a survival enthusiast, or, just someone interested in personal security, the ingenuity of these forgotten wartime measures really does offer a blueprint. The focus should always be on preparedness, ingenuity, and adaptability. Layered defences, clever use of materials, hidden compartments, and psychological deterrents remain just as effective today as they were in 1940s Europe. By studying these traps, you gain not just historical knowledge, but, actionable insights into thinking like a defender, anticipating threats, and using your environment to your advantage. By bringing these lessons to life, we honour the ingenuity of those who lived under threat and ensure that their knowledge is not lost to time. Understanding and adapting these strategies gives modern enthusiasts a deeper connection to the past while offering tangible benefits in personal security and survival preparedness. If this dive into the hidden world of World War II home defences has sparked your interest, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment with your thoughts or experiences, and share this guide with fellow history enthusiasts. These strategies deserve to be studied, remembered, and adapted, keeping the ingenuity of the past alive in our modern survival planning.